Welcome to the Redhead Reveal podcast, where we reveal what it means to truly connect. I'm Jenn Pinkerton, your Redhead host. I'm a psychotherapist, high-performance coach, sexologist, writer, and speaker. As a connection expert, I help people transform by exploring the root causes and beliefs and behaviors that hold them back. Let's talk about living a life where you thrive. Today, I want to talk about what it means to be authentic. We live in this world where it is a constant message to be authentic, to stay true to who you are. And while I 100% am behind that, what if being authentic is really hard? What if it's about your nervous system? What does it actually mean if the parts of you have been hidden for safety and so you cannot be vulnerable? What if you have some underlying things that are stored in your nervous system, in your body, and prevent you from showing up? Today, I want to unpack this messy, beautiful idea of authenticity. And I want to talk about what is the truth about that and what does it really mean to be authentic? Authenticity isn't about oversharing. It's about being aligned in your life. The version of you that performs is not the enemy. It's actually the protector. And we have these protective parts that will absolutely get in the way of being authentic if we let them. The idea isn't to shame this part of us, but it's to lean into understanding who we are and being able to embrace authenticity in a different way. Some of the things that can really hold us back from being authentic are our core wounds or our traumas. They are experiences in which our body has been too overwhelmed to cope, and they become stored in our body. Not necessarily the event itself, but the memories and the experiences surrounding that event. And when we sit in that place where these wounds or these traumas are in the driver's seat of our life, being authentic is really challenging because we are basically presenting a false self to the world. We are trying to protect ourselves. Our body is working really hard to be able to sense and scan the room for emotional safety all day long. And if our body senses danger, even if it's not something we would recognize as danger, our body might. And in doing so, we are not truly authentic. We are protecting. We are running. We are fighting. We are fawning. We are freezing. We're doing something, going into a response to protect ourselves. And I love to look at that as a beautiful thing about how our body works and a beautiful way that our mind and our body can be in such tandem. But it extends in a way that it can either become this beautiful thing that happens to protect you that now is maladaptive and no longer serves you, or it can be an idea that I understand why my body does that. I'm going to be so aligned with the cues in my body and how I feel so that I have a chance to slow down, to pause and step into a place of being more authentic and more vulnerable and more real. Some examples of where this really takes place is maybe the overachieving performer, or maybe you are the caretaker in your family and you fix everything. Maybe you're a partner that is just agreeable and easy and protects the peace. While those things maybe on the surface don't seem that problematic, I can assure you they really can be, because that means your body is stuck. Your nervous system is stuck in a place where you are constantly protecting yourself. And eventually it's going to catch up to you, and eventually it's going to really leave you feeling unhappy, and you're not going to be thriving in life. And you'll wonder, why can't I feel more real? Why do I feel so disconnected from the world and disconnected from other people? So as we reflect on kind of what I'm saying, I would love for you to think about when you've told yourself, I'm fine. And when you knew you absolutely weren't. When the story in your head becomes overwhelming to you, so you just dismiss it, rather than actually slowing down to do the work, to be introspective, to explore how you feel, and to have a voice that is full of self-love and self-compassion, both of which promote authenticity. There's so many masks that we wear in the world today. And especially you look at maybe social media and everything looks perfect. Or you see people that are even actually trying to be vulnerable in social media, but are they? Or is it all just a performance? You know? And are you so agreeable in life to try to make things simple that you lose who you are? Or do you perform so much that you are disconnected, although you might be rewarded in other ways? All of these ideas really need some exploration. They need you to slow down enough to think about, how do I show up? What do I really look like with friendships? Am I so stuck in flight and so busy that I can't really connect? You know? Or do I lash out or immediately get angry? Do I have emotional cutoff from people so quickly? Or am I constantly fixing and pleasing and accommodating and betraying my own sense of self and my own needs for my friendships? All these things are really good indicators that this is something you probably want to explore a little bit on your own. So something I want you to think about is, when do you feel most like yourself? What is it that is the most authentic and real to you? And then how much do you show up that way in friendships, in the presence of other people? How honest can you be with the people you say you're close to, with the people that you have an emotional investment with? How honest can you be about, no, what I really want to do is this, and that's what makes me happy, even if it's a really unpopular opinion? I'll self-profess something for you right here. I'm a nerd, okay? When I travel, I would love to go to a rare bookstore, or I would love to see something that's unique and different. I would love to go learn something. And some people might say, that does not sound fun to me. Where's the next bar? And while I'm all for having some fun in that way too, with balance, I also want to get to do the things that make me happy. And how real can you be with your friendships? I know with my friends, I can say that. They may laugh at me and they may not understand, but they're going to do it with me. They're going to go with me. And that's what you're looking for. You know, same with your partner and your romantic relationships. How real can you be? Are you so worried about causing a problem or rocking the boat that you can't be? Or maybe are y'all so quick to go into conflict when you are activated that you can't even really share how you feel because your message is lost in your delivery? All of these things are good examinations of how authentic are you, and what is the thing that's holding you back. So when we think about how we want to redefine our authenticity, it's not about this idea that you have to data dump or trauma dump or share everything with somebody. I mean, not everybody deserves to hear our story, but that shouldn't prevent us from being real. That shouldn't prevent us from being authentic about who we are and being able to face the fact that if somebody doesn't like us, that's their business. And you're not going to be a perfect fit for everybody, and that is okay. But if you have feelings about it, you're still going to explore it. It's not that's okay and deep down I'm hurting. It's that's okay. I know I'm not a fit for everyone, and let me further process how I'm feeling right now to examine what is it about it that's hurting me. You know, what is the memory of this? Where am I going back to? And what parts of me are showing up to protect me? You know, is there inner child work that I need to do? Or am I a caretaker with so very little boundaries? I betray myself in the pursuit of pleasing others. Am I performing all day long, every day, that I'm never real? You take the time to stop and pause and process that and ask yourself some of these deeper questions, to try to promote alignment and to try to connect the mind with the body. And we can only be connected if we slow down. You'll often hear me say power in the pause. And there is so much power in the pause. We can take back our actual birthright, the idea of what we're born to be, which is being aligned, being true, being real, and being able to know that we're all born perfect. And what does that mean? And where did we get off? Where did that path stray in another direction? What was it about that? And can I go back to a place where I first remember feeling that way? Can I identify it? Can I connect with it? Can I provide some reparenting or soothing to myself to be able to provide a balm or a salve or a comfort to that wound? Can I give myself all this love, all the self-love, all the compassion, and all the grace that I should have had then? Can I talk myself through those feelings in a very slowed down, paused way so that then I can actually feel as though I am connected with myself, so that then I can connect with others? There's also a big difference between authenticity or transparency. Authenticity is I'm going to be true about who I am. I'm not going to betray my needs, betray myself. I'm going to have boundaries. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to be expressive. Transparency sometimes is more about exposure. It's about, let me just share everything with you and see what's going to happen with that. And that goes back to the not everyone deserves to hear our story, but it also goes back to what is the motive with that? Are you being transparent to expose, to shock and awe? Or are you trying to actually connect? Because transparency doesn't really promote connection, but authenticity does. You know, I recently worked with a client, and I work with lots of clients who this really fits for, but it's this idea that I'm going to please and accommodate to a fault where I actually no longer even know what makes myself happy. And it's the idea that maybe I didn't grow up in a household that felt peaceful. Everything was chaotic, or maybe there was a lack of emotional availability. Maybe there was a parent who wasn't present. And so now this time around in my marriage, in my life, I'm going to be present. I'm going to be available. I'm going to be here. Everything's going to be fine. We're going to have peace. We're going to have joy. And all this is forced, and none of it is real. But what would it look like if you were real? What would it look like if you could tell your spouse, you know what, I constantly have this desire for everything to be, quote, perfect with our kids because I never felt good enough. You know, how much compassion could your partner meet you where you are with that? Or what if you are able to tell your friends, you know, I didn't have friends growing up. And so having friends now is so important to me. It's so much meaning in my life that I find myself sometimes not being real with you because I don't want to lose you. And I'm afraid if I am real, I'll be rejected. If these people do love you and you do have a two-way emotional investment with them, give them a chance to show up and meet you where you are. And let's even talk about parenting. If we are pushing and helicopter parenting because we want our kids to be perfect and we want them to experience and have all the things you didn't have, express it. What if you could say to your 16-year-old, you know, I'm sorry that I am pushing so hard on your grades. I know I need to let up a little bit. I know I need to allow you to figure out who you are. The reason I do that is this. And you can share something in a vulnerable way and actually connect with your child. It might actually allow them to see you differently. Again, age appropriate, developmentally appropriate. I mean, you know, I'm referring more to that teenager, someone that's getting on the cusp of adulthood, where they can actually process feelings with you, where they can meet you where you are, where you might have a different type of connection than you've ever had. I can also even reflect on a personal journey for me. Most of you know I'm also an artist, and just for me to say that word to you is kind of a big deal. I have been a creative my entire life. I love to make things. I love to do things. I like to see things to fruition. And I've always been into that creative process, whether it's writing, whether it's art. And when it comes to art, I've always painted, I've always created, but I never would say that I was an artist. I never thought that I could say that unless I was making, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars being an artist. And now I recognize, you know, I can make art and I can sell it and I can give people something that's beautiful and meaningful. And I actually can use this as a form of my own self-expression. And it feeds me. It fuels me. It actually reaches a part of me very down deep, my own inner child, and connects with me in that way. And now I recognize how much joy it gives me. And so I too struggle with these kind of internal thoughts of authenticity. But just me embracing that for myself has given me so much in the way of being more authentic. It's really allowed me to blossom in that way and to not really care if somebody loves it or doesn't, but still celebrate the joy when somebody buys a piece, and still celebrate when I just make something for myself and I hang it on the wall and I get to look at it every day. Being able to recognize the things that feed you is one of the core aspects of authenticity. Let's say you love music. You know, let's say you love a certain kind, you don't get to listen to it. What if your spouse or your kids hate it and they listen to their own? Do you just stop? Or do you carve out time to say, you know what? My music's important to me, and when I'm cooking every day, I'm going to play my music. Or I'm going to love my run that I go on or my workout routine because I get to have my earbuds in and listen to exactly what I want to listen to, and it is a priority for me. Being able to do things that feed you, that fill your cup, that give your life a sense of wholeness and satisfaction are so important on this quest and on this path of being authentic. You know, being able to pursue things that are nurturing so that we don't numb out, so we can actually show up in a very real way, especially with the people that matter most in our life. You don't have to tell the world your whole truth to live authentically. You just can't abandon it anymore. You just have to be true to yourself. It's not about, I'm going to tell everybody everything that makes me happy, because that might be overwhelming for people to understand how to accept that, especially from maybe a spouse standpoint or even your kids. But what you do have to do is be so very real. What you do have to do is recognize that I am going to be proud and happy of who I am, and I'm no longer going to hide it. And your nervous system's alignment will shift so much with that. When we start stepping into things that fill us, we feel differently. And that shows. That's something we're putting out into the world and into the universe, and people are able to connect with us on a different level. We get out of the world what we put into it. And that's no different in relationships either. When you start becoming more authentic, you will attract more authentic partners. When you start becoming very real, you'll recognize that you see a falsehood in others so much more clearly. And it'll be something you repel against. The energy will feel different to you. But you have to start on that path. And it all starts by looking inward. It all starts by self-reflection. I love journaling for this. I love it when you can slow down enough to get into a moment of taking the time to do something that feeds you. I love to get a hot cup of tea and to sit down with a fresh, clean notebook and a brand new pen and write about how I feel. And you don't have to share it with anybody. This is not something where you're performing again. This is just your chance to be vulnerable, to be raw, and to then look and see, how does this make me feel? And where did I start to feel this way? And what is the reason for that? And how can I avoid ever hiding this true part of me again? What can I do to connect with others in a way that feels so very real to me? So doing exercises like that are a beautiful experience for you to tap into more connection with yourself. So some key insight I want to leave you with is that authenticity is a daily practice. This is not a fixed identity. It's not, I'm suddenly more authentic with the world and I'm done and I've checked the box. It's every day I want to check in to make sure I'm not abandoning myself. Every day I want to see, is my body and my mind feel aligned? Every day is, am I doing something that's nurturing to me? Am I being real with people I love? We can't just say, yep, I'm authentic and expect that that's going to stick. It doesn't work like that. Our body is constantly affected because remember, we're scanning for emotional safety every day, all day long. And that's just a subconscious thing that we can't change. But if we work diligently to provide our own sense of emotional safety by our authenticity, by our vulnerability, by also having boundaries, all these things are core concepts that connect and relate to being able to have this consistency that you're probably really craving in your life, even if you don't realize it. I also want to challenge you. If I'm going to leave you with something, is to choose one moment today that you might show up as your wholly authentic self. You might really today be able to express, this is who I am. And when you do it, celebrate how you feel. Be able to give yourself the pat on the back that I am doing something that is so great for me and it feels good. I love the hand over heart and the hand on your stomach and being able to really slow down enough to breathe and ask yourself and inquire with those parts within you, how do I feel? Where am I today? What is my own reading of how I feel? And process it and give yourself the time and the presence and the intention that you actually deserve. Some questions I'm going to leave you with is, what would authenticity look like if I didn't need approval? That's one. Another one is, what part of me is asking to be seen? What part of me doesn't feel seen? And then the last one would be, where am I performing and trying to make connection instead of actually having organic connection? When you explore those things, I'd be really curious to know what you find. And I'd love to hear from you about it. So reach out to me. Let me know. Connect with me. You can find me on Instagram, Jenn B. Pinkerton, or Redhead Reveal. Also, if this episode spoke to you, please share it with somebody. Forward it with somebody. Like and follow. Subscribe. And be able to share this idea with people that you love. Because the more authentic we always are and the more real we are to ourselves, the more connected we will be. And the more connected we will be, the more we will all be living a life where you thrive.